to No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm LaClaw Scott, and today we are reviewing Joyride. Early sneak peek of Joyride.
Yes, thank you very much. Lionsgate screenings. Packed house, of course.
Yes.
I did see the trailer
Yeah,
for
that's very
this
fun.
a couple times before we got the passes for the advanced screening, and it looked funny. I definitely wanted to see this. So I'm glad that we were able to see it together and then we got to see it in advance. That's always fun. Did you have prior conceptions, preconceived notions?
On this one, well, I mean, yes, saw the trailers before the movie came out. I'm a huge, I see, yes, I can firmly say I'm a huge Ashley Park fan. I love Girls Five Ever, even though she's not in it all that much, but I do love Emily in Paris for her. A lot of the supporting characters, and we had a brief discussion about this. And of course, Stephanie Sue, she's great on Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think this is the first time that I've seen Sherry Cola and Sabrina Wu in like media. I feel like there's a reoccurring like summer comedy that's out and was very interested in seeing this just to see like what the take is. It feels like it's younger and fresher than a Bridesmaids when that came out like 13 years ago. And also like I felt like the comedy was on par with some of like the funnier, sillier female led comedies that have come out in like the last like 15 years. So the girls trip, Bridesmaids, there's oh my gosh, the prom movie that came out a couple years ago, Plan B that came out like in 2020. So there's so many good female-led comedies that are coming out, and this one is great.
Yeah, I would highly recommend.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me at the end if I would see it again, and I would probably, like, if it came on and I was, if it shows up on Hulu or if it shows up on some streaming, I would watch it again. I don't know that I would go back to the theater to watch it unless somebody wanted to go with, another person. So I would go with them to see it, but I wouldn't go by myself to see it
Would you
again.
go with like a large group of people?
Um, sure. Yeah, why not?
I feel like this is a film that like a large group of women would really enjoy.
Yeah.
Um, like a bachelorette party or a birthday party, or you're just hanging out and having a girls' day. Like this is one of those films, and I feel like I see Bridesmaids on TV all the time, and I can totally see this movie, minus a couple of scenes, replay on television. So it's good.
Agreed. Let's go to the slides. So we gave it the exact same total score, but we got there different ways. I gave it a
Yes.
2.5 on production, a 2.5 on soundtrack, and you gave it a 3 on production and a 2 on soundtrack.
Yeah. I would have to say, despite it's better than average, but definitely, a couple of points away from being perfect. I think that's only because our rating scale is like just doesn't encapsulate the things that I feel about this film. I felt like it was excellent. It's great. Yeah. And that there's some things that just can't be covered here. So for me, yeah, I thought the soundtrack was a little lacking. They covered like the 90s pretty well, like when the two characters meet as children. And then towards the end, or maybe for me, I'm not aware of like the popular music at the time, or I guess now. And then maybe it is specific to certain regional areas too, because this movie goes through many different countries, and maybe I don't have an awareness, but I just remember specifically like 2 to 3 different tracks from this film. So maybe things weren't a earworm for me.
The reason I gave it more than a 2 for a soundtrack is because of the Cardi B
Oh gosh.
song, because a lot of those lyrics were like changed so that they were, I mean, they're hilarious, and I probably only caught like half of them, so I definitely want to go back and rewatch that scene because that was amazing.
It was very much in the, yeah, it's very like, what is it, Pitch Perfect-esque.
I thought a lot of the
Um,
humor in the movie was very Family Guy-ish. It was smart and funny, and some of it's very blue, but a lot of the lines when they drop, you just laugh out loud because it's so like surprising how much more clever it is than it could have been.
yeah, and I felt like the jokes were just very timely. It was almost like this, were they in had conversations, or they have conversations that literally could have happened yesterday. But maybe that's just a point in time we're at. I think very early in the movie when I guess the two families were talking. And I was like, wow, that's a conversation that actually could have happened like literally yesterday.
Right, right. I looked up because I saw her name go by, Cherry Chava. I don't know, she's a very long last name. And I
Mhm.
recognized it from watching Family Guy. And you see her name flash up on the credits, and I was like, oh, that's why. Like that's why it reminds me of that humor because she is a writer and producer on that show. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm glad she was able to put this movie together, and I hope it's very successful.
Yeah, there was an incredible lineup of writers and actors. It's like who's who. It's like, oh hey, that person. Oh hey, that person. I recognize that person from somewhere. And it was very good to see.
Yeah. Were
It's
there
like a
any
very unpredictable plot too. It's, lots of plot twists and fun. And I think that that's, yeah, it's very much needed in the storytelling to keep people like engaged with movies.
Right. And it is funny that it takes a sort of well-worn story, right? This girl is going back, she's going to find her birth mother, but it's funny. And that story is almost never presented in a funny way.
Yes.
It's always a drama. It's always very sad. It's always, but this was both and at different times, but it was mostly funny.
Yeah. You're 80% laughing out loud, and then you're at 20% crying because it's really, it's very emotional.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny because the we saw the advanced screening. I did feel like there were a disproportionately high number of Asians in the audience, like more than would just be in the general population. So,
Really?
yeah, yeah. Maybe that was just from where I was sitting, but yeah.
I just felt like there were a ton of like NYU must have gotten a blast because it seemed like there were just a ton of students. I'm like, oh, but yeah, I guess it's a rated R comedy for like Gen Z, millennial slash X. So I can see that it's the target demo is there, and it hits all the right points.
Were there any particular scenes that you want to call out?
Oh my goodness. Just like sometimes just the dialogue is just really, really funny. That's just between the characters. It's like, and the character profiles are very different. I've never like I don't have a particular scene. I think it's more of the interaction. So definitely the cousin of, the best friend. You almost never see a female character like that. Like someone who clearly, might be on the spectrum, is trying to engage socially with everybody, and they come up with these ideas that are kind of off the wall, and you either accept them or you just kind of brush it to the side. And this person is very hyper aware of kind of their quirks, and so her interactions with a lot of other characters and other people in scenes are just very, very funny.
The foursome kind of reminds me of Sex and the City, right? In Sex and the
Yes.
City, for very different female characters, they probably would not really be friends in real life. Like you never see like a foursome of women walking down the street who are so differently dressed.
Very true.
And so I feel like that dynamic was there too. But it also was great and it made for a very funny situations.
Yeah. But I think that kind of goes back to like, yeah, Sex and the City, they wouldn't be friends. But I guess in this case, they're like, are they friends because they like each other, or are they friends because they were the only two Asian women at the time in their town, which I find very hard to believe in Washington. If they
Right.
were leaving out of like the Seattle airport, I noticed that. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. And
Right.
also, I have another like, mm, her mom's age. And I was like, huh. I think I was doing a lot of math, or maybe I was, the math wasn't mathing there when I was like, okay, her mom, and then when she was a kid, and then like, I don't know, something seemed off to me. And I was just, that was in the back of my mind of like, maybe her mom would have been a little older, but yeah.
So good stuff. If you do you have anything to plug in this episode?
There are a lot of great summer movies coming. We got Fast X on the way. We got The Little Mermaid. Obviously, we have Joyride. There are a lot of really, really great films. So I'm very excited to kind of just get back into going back to the movies for the summer. How about you?
I definitely Asteroid City is up there on the list. Oppenheimer, we've talked about. Past Lives, we've talked about. Coming out soon. There does seem to be a lot coming out but we're in this like period of like waiting for everything to hit in June or July. Mission Impossible's is actually not for the July weekend. It says July 12th.
Oh, wow.
So that was, I was surprised when I saw that, but yeah. And then there's just a lot of like kind of under the radar things. The Starling Girl is on my list for this week. I still want to see Carmen. I still want to see the new Penelope Cruz. I think it's Lemon. I'm gonna mess up the pronunciation, so I'm not gonna say it. But
It's all good. The new Penelope Cruz. You don't even have to say what movie she's in. You're just
right.
going to see the new Penelope Cruz movie.
Plus, like the news is out about Cannes, right? So I'm excited about some of those coming out. The new Scorsese seems to be getting pretty good reviews. Yes, looking forward to those.
I mean, I do have a controversial take, right? Because the indicator for success is like how long someone stands for standing ovation for a movie. And I like to think back to like what Crimes of the Future or something like that got a standing ovation.
For The Whale, got a very long standing ovation.
Yeah. And then we go to see it and it's just like, okay.
Well, too, I think it's a different audience, right? It's French cinema. Really, to me, the measure of am I gonna like this is did it win a prize? I mean, Titane won a prize, like won the Palme d'Or that year. But also, which is very artsy and French and was interesting to watch. But like this year, Harrison Ford was there with the new Indiana Jones movie, which was surprising to me. I didn't really think that would debut. Yes, but there it is. And they gave him an honorary Palme d'Or. Like, not that he doesn't deserve it, of course, but I don't know what their scale is. It seems very different depending on the year.
That's very true. I feel like they're very good for lifetime achievements, more so than American cinema. But you do get a eclectic taste. Like Triangle of Sadness won last year, right? Or it won an award.
I don't remember. It did definitely get something. Yes.
And then here, it's like it's polarizing. People either love it or they hate it.
Right. It's like France itself, right? People either love it or they hate it.
Very true.
Well, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.